Hey everyone, I'm Luke and welcome back to Crypto Coffee Break. Today we have a great guest. Her name is Tamara Rogers and she's the general counsel for a VC firm called Pithia. And Pithia is completely focused on innovating the blockchain 3.0 ecosystem and driving enterprise adoption. So I'll hand it off here to Tamara and let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Tamara Rogers. I'm the general counsel for Pithia Inc. We're a venture capital firm, as Luke said, focusing on building blockchain and the blockchain ecosystem. My personal background is in technology transactions and contract law, with a small smattering of time in the Washington State Legislature. When I sit down to review our blockchain prospects, I look at it from both the general due diligence process that any good general counsel would, but also looking at where each of these individual blockchain companies will touch on the regulatory schemes of whichever countries they plan to operate in.
Cool. So what's your outlook on the industry? What are you excited about? What do you feel we kind of need to do? What's the highest priority in your mindset of, leading to long-term growth, widespread adoption, etc.?
So frankly, I think that right now the biggest hurdle that blockchain and cryptocurrency as an industry needs to clear is that we need to start actually using cryptocurrency, because right now it's seen largely as a speculative market. People invest in cryptocurrency with the intent to hold it and see it appreciate in value. Unfortunately, that leads to an industry that is largely focused on just crypto. It leads to proliferation of ICO-based scams, pump and dumps, in which there's no actual value underlying the actual token. And so to start eliminating that, we need to start making use of the crypto to transact on the blockchain networks, to use it for transactions, which will not only help lower and stabilize the price of the various tokens, but start to show the value of the underlying blockchain technology. For widespread adoption, we need blockchain to be seen as more than just this speculative crypto token market. We need people to see that it improves efficiency, that it removes transactional fees, that it actually has something to offer beyond what is just being promoted in the media, which is currently largely the speculative value being offered. Now, I say that, yet there are actually great use examples and use cases already happening, but many of them are at the enterprise level and they're using private or permissioned blockchains, so they're less visible in the public sphere. I think to see widespread adoption of everyday consumers, we need to see consumer level dApps that actually provide a value to consumers that are that are easy to use. Right now, wallets, for instance, are not very user-friendly. So we need to see easy to use, easy to understand, that actually provide a service that is better than the existing options. And then people will start using blockchain and crypto to attack their daily tasks. They will see that there's a value in it, and then they'll start using cryptocurrency, either the existing pure cryptos, Bitcoin or Ethereum if they're transacting on the Ethereum network, but they'll also start using altcoins instead of actually just holding them with the expectation of an appreciation in value.
Yeah, it is kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because to get more widespread adoption and use, people actually need to use it, but no one wants to spend $1 and then find out that same dollar is worth $5 3 days later.
Yeah, and right now it's exceptionally difficult because as of August 15th, all of the cryptos have basically bottomed out, and I can't say why necessarily that is, but as a holder of crypto right now, the last thing I want to do is spend it when it's devalued. I was lucky enough to have bought it in the last couple months when the value itself was fairly low, but for someone who bought back when Bitcoin was at $16,000 a coin, there's absolutely no way that they're going to want to spend that, which obviously creates a bit of a double bind. And unfortunately, with a lot of the altcoins, their platforms aren't yet fully live, or even if they are live, they're not performing at the speed or scale that they were anticipating. And so the value in the use of transacting on their product or project is not there yet. So basically, we're seeing an industry that is largely in its infancy, and it's got some unique growing pains.
Growing pains indeed. It's a little bit of the Wild West, but it's definitely fun. So for others who are trying to get into this space as an entrepreneur, whether they're trying to start their own project or get hired at an existing project, what advice do you have for people trying to get into blockchain?
So for people who are trying to get in as who are trying to find a job in crypto, unfortunately, I can't speak to anything on the development side. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a software engineer. So you'll have to ask that of someone else. For someone who's interested in, say, product management, marketing, or and I'll speak specifically to the legal side in a moment, but anyone who's interested getting up to speed with the industry, understanding at least the high level technical basis, understanding some of the larger macroeconomic trends, I think that's a really good starting point. As with any industry that someone's trying to enter into, knowing the buzzwords, knowing some of the big players is very useful. There's also a lot of opportunities to attend meetups and conferences and speaking events. I personally found that once I had kind of created enough of a body of knowledge, I started writing about it and posting on LinkedIn led to my first speaking engagements, which then led to more connections. So it's a little bit of a trite statement, but becoming a subject matter expert in the area is one of the better ways, definitely, to become ingrained in the community. Speaking specifically to anyone interested in entering the field as a lawyer, learning about some of the regulatory areas that crypto touches on. Securities laws is incredibly important. There's this continuous discussion around whether a token is a security or a utility token. Being able to speak to that is going to be useful. You don't have to have the world's deepest understanding of securities law. I don't, yet I understand why it is applicable to blockchain. Understanding the other regulatory issues that are predominating right now, which would include anything touching money. So that would be your exchanges, your money services businesses, and then learning what exactly those things mean. So those are areas that have become hot topics. There's also some openings at the intersection of open source and copyright law with blockchain. Most blockchain projects right now are built on top of open source software. And there's not a lot of understanding, even within the blockchain community, about what open source actually means. I'm going to be writing an article soon in collaboration with someone who's been deeply embedded in the open source industry for quite a while and has done speaking and writing, because I think it would be really interesting to take people with knowledge of both fields and put it together. And then beyond that, personally as a general counsel, I have to have a strong knowledge of contracts. There's a lot of contracts involved, and that's actually pretty common to anyone working in any field of business.
Awesome. Well, that was quite a few tips, and yeah, on the regulation front, study up as much as you can, but no one really knows what the hell's going on. So we're all
100% correct. The joke that one day in crypto is like 3 days or 3 months in any other industry is totally correct. Regulations change all the time. Announcements change all the time. The news cycle itself is abbreviated. A really big announcement in the crypto or blockchain sphere is dropped from awareness within a day or two, even if it's tremendous. There's only a few that I've seen that have continued to receive press, and it's things that are deeply related to the value of Bitcoin, essentially the EFT conversation or the regulation of exchanges or that ruling on BTC and Ethereum not being securities. But beyond that, it's rapidly evolving.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch over the last, I don't know, 7-8 months where, in November, December, basically all that was coming out was terrible news about blockchain or Bitcoin or anything else like that, and the price was skyrocketing just because of the hype. And then for the last 8 months or so, all that's really been coming out, other than the occasional hack or scam or whatnot, has been great news towards regulation and more people using it and Wall Street getting into it, and the price has been plummeting. So it is the very kind of short notice ADD attention span of the industry.
Yep, I would say that is very accurate. I think it's good though. We're seeing less in the news about hacks, like cybersecurity. People are finally taking it seriously. There's been more regulation put into place. They're still happening, but I'm really heartened to see that at least those news headlines are decreasing.
Yeah. Speaking of news headlines, I was reading Crypto Slate today, and I saw Pithia in the news. Why don't you go ahead and tell viewers a little bit about your guys' announcement today?
So we have signed a new company that we will be investing in. It's a company called Lucidity, and Lucidity plans to remove, I'll use an industry term, double spend from the advertising industry. I don't have a super deep knowledge of the advertising industry, but evidently it's very hard for advertisers to correctly gauge when their product has come into the eyes or been seen accurately by the end user, the targeted customer. And consequently, it creates a lot of billing headaches, because if you are being billed strictly on the number of views of your ad, but the ability to track those views is loose, then there's a continuous discrepancy between billing and obviously anything relating to that side of the industry. So Lucidity is going to find a way to use the blockchain to tighten up that transaction, and to basically clean up the problems of double spend, the problems of fuzzy billing in the advertising industry. And I'm not giving the world's best summary of it, largely because I don't have that depth in the advertising industry. But we made an investment in Lucidity. They are, I believe, already live with their product, or very soon to be live. They have a large and established team. So we were making a traditional VC size investment. This was not a seed round. And we look forward to seeing what they do in the future.
Cool. Cool. So is Pithia, what do you guys focus on? Do you guys focus on ad tech and things like that, or what's your kind of focus for investments?
So we have a couple of criteria for investments. The first is we are generally angling towards what we might consider to be picks and shovels of the blockchain ecosystem. So we've invested in companies building identity, decentralized identity. We have worked with companies creating wallets. We're looking at things that are going to provide the underlying layer of structure for the blockchain ecosystem. There will be some dApps in that mix. As they grow and expand, we see these excellent business opportunities. Sometimes we'll invest in something that is more enterprise level. For instance, Lucidity is generally servicing enterprise level customers. We're also looking at a couple of companies who are interacting with supply chain, who are interacting with coming up with a taxation products to help with the taxes around crypto. And these are things that, as the blockchain industry and crypto industry continue to grow, we're going to need. So that's generally what Pithia focuses on. We are also partnered with the R-Chain Cooperative. And so any company we invest in needs to make meaningful use of the R-Chain platform. The R-Chain platform is not yet live. And so, but when it does go live, it will be a platform upon which dApps can be built. So it would be similar to Ethereum, but building on the Ethereum concept, faster, higher transactions, sharding, namespaces, etc. So any company we invest in will need to make a meaningful use of that platform, either completely transitioning towards it, offering it as a core, or in some cases, for companies, the few companies that are not directly operating on the blockchain, doing an analysis or setting themselves up to work with or provide services to the R-Chain platform.
Cool. Cool. I like the foundational, focus. I feel like that's something a lot of the industry is kind of trying to skip ahead. We're kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse of, hey, we have X solution, we have Y, technology. We're gonna revolutionize this industry, but it's like, wow, we don't have like the basic building blocks of how to even get there. So I like that focus.
Correct. As someone recently put it, there is a timeline whereby if you have uses that require a high level of security, such as fintech, financial technology, then that might be a level 3 goal, whereas level 1 goal is transactions that are not going to be subject to a lot of hacking, where probably someone's respective taste in music is not a particularly valuable thing. It's not going to be a target. And so that might be a first level, whereby if for some reason the system goes down, a few listeners may not be able to access their music immediately, but there aren't going to be people unable to go about their daily lives. There's not going to be large amounts of money lost. And so there are, in some industries, people have tried to jump all the way to the third level of goals and going directly to transacting in large amounts of money or in complex security heavy areas. We are trying to make sure that the underlying structure is there to support that level of use before before people start trying to use it. So, and there's things that need to go along with that, such as identity, such as usable wallets.
That makes entirely too much sense. I love it. So what are you guys working on? What do you need help with? I find the crypto community is very collaborative. It's just kind of in our nature. So what are you guys working on? What do you need help with? How can the community help out if they're interested?
So we're obviously always looking for new prospects and new investments, and we are happy to entertain pitches. We do have a pitch-specific address, which is pitches@pithia.com. Our website is currently being completely reskinned, so that will be, anyone will be able to find that information hopefully very soon. I'm not sure what state the website's currently at. Feel free to invite us to forums, conferences, speaking events. I personally like speaking at conferences, forums, etc., as does our CEO. We brought a new CFO on recently who, once she's up to speed in the blockchain and crypto sphere, is also eager to do some speaking and writing. And then I think beyond that, continuing to actively promote good practices in the industry. So some of that self-regulating, self-policing, adhering to the best practices whereby every member of the blockchain and crypto community calls out bad actors, acts honorably, doesn't shill the shitcoin, so to speak. That's something that all of us as a community appreciate. We at Pithia definitely appreciate, because it keeps the value of our particular investments high as well.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have today, but thank you so much for coming on the program, and keep up the great work over at Pithia. That's very inspirational and exciting.
Awesome. Thanks a bunch.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this week's Crypto Coffee Break. Tune in next week for another great guest, and subscribe to never miss the next episode. Thanks so much, guys.